Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Over the weekend, I was cleaning my apartment and I was also binge listening to the audiobook for Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games book, and I have some thoughts and I wanted to share them with you in this video. This video will have spoilers, so I recommend finishing the book before returning to this video. So let's get started. Part 1. Nostalgia. I've always enjoyed the Hunger Games universe, mostly because I think I'm the target audience for the books when it first came out. I'm probably a bit on the younger side, but nonetheless, I'm still within the age bracket, I reckon. I have fond memories of kids in my class just passing around this single copy of Hunger Games in secret. Shout out to Jess, my friend again, for sacrificing her Hunger Games books. Thank you for getting the class into reading. When the first film premiered in 2012, it was also monumental for us kids. It became such a huge phenomenon too. I feel like there are people who grew up with Twilight and then there are people who grew up with the Hunger Games, and I would definitely fall into the Hunger Games camp because I would be too young for Twilight. Anyway, I recently rewatched the films and overall I like the movies. I think they are good adaptations of the books. With that said, clearly I have nostalgia for this franchise. But I also appreciate the themes and the messages in these books and films. They're incredibly topical regardless of the political climate that we are in, which is eerie in a way. When this new book was announced, I was pumped. I was ready for it. And then I listened to it and it was okay. I was whelmed. Part 2. Why was I only whelmed? I put out a YouTube short / TikTok last week talking about how when I was young, I really enjoyed reading and watching these games play out. And in hindsight, it is incredibly stupid of me, but then again, I'm like a child, so I didn't really know the larger implications of these games. But reading the games as an adult is actually scary. I feel so much for these kids. Like, I saw this post recently that said the first movie came out 13 years ago. I didn't realize it had been that long. But someone else mentioned that Rue didn't even reach the age of 13, and I'm like, far out. That is so sad. I think it's a testament to Suzanne Collins for being able to make you feel uncomfortable from these games and their greater implications, especially if you revisit these books as adults. But maybe being an adult who feels uncomfortable now reading these games, maybe that impacted my enjoyment of Sunrise on the Reaping. Like, I get it, that's the purpose. However, I also feel like I wasn't as keen on Sunrise on the Reaping, mostly because we kind of see the way these games work from the Katniss trilogy, and a lot of Sunrise on the Reaping is about the games. I thought it was more interesting when they were kind of like exploring more of District 12 and the injustices that they were experiencing rather than the games itself. It's a Hunger Games book, so of course it's about the games. Anyway, it was definitely interesting to see the parallels between the District 12 tributes, and I understand the story, themes, and messages that Suzanne Collins wanted the readers to take away from this particular book. But I sort of wish that we would have gotten a different point of view to these games so we can add more into the world building of Panem. What I like about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is that we get to see the way these games work from the capital side. Seeing a Young Snow add feature to these games is also very sinister, and overall it was interesting to see how these games have evolved from punishment to entertainment, but nonetheless still remains a propaganda. But don't get me wrong, I like that we get haymitch's backstory, and it was also interesting to see how long and how hard it takes for the rebellion to come together, how the rebels have been trying to do this for a while, and how they sacrificed so much leading up to the moments where Katniss officially becomes the Mockingjay. But I can't help but think that maybe Suzanne Collins still can achieve the same goals using a different perspective. Personally, I would have loved to see a book from Plutarch Heavensbee's perspective, especially as someone who is on the side of the rebels, but he is still working for President Snow. Like, how do you further the rebellion's agenda when you are in the lion's den? I think this way you can explore this side of the rebellion while you can also see the way these Hunger Games work from a different perspective. And it's also a fresh perspective because you're not getting it from the tributes or the people or someone who is clearly aligned with the capital and their agenda. I actually thought Sunrise on the Reaping would have been more interesting if it's from Plutarch's perspective, especially since Plutarch is the one who is literally making these propaganda. Like, he's getting all these shots, he's getting all these reactions, but at the same time he's also trying to take care of the tributes, but he's also trying to make them into entertainment for the people within the capital. That would have been interesting personally, and if a new book were to come out, maybe it could be from his perspective. I don't know. I just think that he is very fascinating fascinating as a character, especially as someone, again, who is on the side of the rebels, but he's also like playing a double agent with Snow. Like, how does that work? That's not to say I didn't enjoy the book. There are things that I like about it. I like the glimpses that we see of District 12 and seeing more of how it operates and seeing how different it is from Katniss's time. I know a lot of people say there's a lot of fan service in the book, and personally, I don't agree with that. I thought the connections and the Easter eggs to the original trilogy and to Songbirds and Snakes, they're pretty natural, and I wasn't as bothered with it as much. And personally, like, you know what? I think they're fun. I don't mind Easter eggs. I love Easter eggs. I'm a Marvel fan. I just wish it would have approached the topic and themes from a different side or a different perspective. I would love to know the psychology of people who are involved in the games, not only from the tribute side, but from people who are adjacent to the games. Part 3, but I appreciate what it's trying to do. Something I enjoy about the Hunger Games books is just how rich in themes they are, and I love seeing the analysis that's generated from these books and these films. I think art is most effective when it gets people talking. And as much as from a storytelling point of view, I feel that Sunrise on the Reaping repeats beats from the original trilogy, the book still had good moments, and it sparked interesting discussions about propaganda, which again is incredibly topical in this day and age. And being a book for young adults, I hope this book and the future film will encourage young readers to critically analyze their media consumption and maybe identify propagandas if possible. Because personally, I know this book has gotten me thinking about these things lately. And maybe the issue that I have with this book is one big ploy from Suzanne Collins. Maybe she's trying to lure in young people like my past self who are into reading the games, into reading this book by centering the book around games again. At the same time, I also understand why Suzanne Collins decided to use Haymitch as the perspective character here. It's tragic seeing someone wanting to rebel, wanting to not be part of the Capitol's propaganda, and actually doing things to fight back, only to find out that the footage has been edited to still play into the Capitol's agenda and propaganda. Because at the end of the day, Haymitch is not the one editing these footages, the Capitol are, and Haymitch is just at the mercy of the Capitol because the Capitol had the power. In fact, how many times have we seen the same thing happening in the real world time and time again? It can be something as innocuous as taking a quote out of context to create clickbait content, or taking those quotes and trying to fit it into the narrative that these news agencies are trying to build. For that reason, I can't completely discount this book. Anyway, this was a shorter video, but I just wanted to share my thoughts about this book. And it's also a good break after doing that really long Iron Fist video, which I encourage you all to watch because I worked really hard on it. So, did you guys enjoy Sunrise on the Reaping? Do you agree with what I said? Also, which of the Hunger Games book is your favorite? And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and maybe sharing it too. Or maybe subscribe to the channel. I post shorts almost daily, and I try to post one long form video every week as well. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.